Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Vibes. Here, where we're going to discuss franchises and everything in between. I am Tamika, your host and franchise consultant, and I'm happy to talk about the vibes that we're on today, which is community vibes. Franchises that serving more than just customers. Today, we have Mark Elson from Hudson Valley Swim. Hello, Mark. How are you?
Good morning, Tamika. Thank you so much for having me this morning. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you on here. So, Mark, please tell us a little more about yourself and your journey to Hudson Valley Swim.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for that opportunity. Yeah. The funny thing for me is in franchising, at 58, I have spent an entire career in the franchising industry. I can honestly say that it has been the franchise industry that's put food on the table for myself and my family really for my entire career. I started out way back in the 90s in a bicycle franchise of all things, but we franchised the bike industry and grew that. Loved the industry. So after I sold my engagement in that business, I just stuck with it. I stuck with it by helping other people get into the business or into businesses. Stuck with it, helping young franchises grow. Because I genuinely believe in this industry. But More recently, I had the opportunity to get involved here at Hudson Valley Swim. Hudson Valley Swim is an old, established business, but it's a relatively young franchise. And that's just a place that I'm super excited to be. I love young franchises that are growing and blossoming. But perhaps most importantly, I love young franchises that have a mission and a purpose. So obviously, making money, growing a business that's sustainable, growing a business that's profitable, growing a business that's scalable, super important. But that can all be done in a way, Tamika, that is making a difference in the community, helping people. And that's something that's always been important to me.
Awesome, awesome. And I like that because that is what our topic is about community. So when you hear community, what does that mean to you in the context of franchising?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. So, franchising can help the community in so many ways. Not always as directly as you think. I mean, there are in all the businesses that we have, whether we're getting into something that's food related, or we get into something that's home services, or something that is pet related. All of those things can be community service type of businesses if you handle them properly. So just doing a great job for your customers and being a part of that community as a really strong customer service type of business is its own help to the community. But
Mhm.
beyond that, you can always go out and take that business and do things in the community that give back. You can always take things in that business that um, drive help. You can go out and do trunk or treats. You can go out and give back to the community by sponsoring teams or just literally doing donations. But there's a lot of ways to take your business and make a difference in the community. But certain businesses, Tamika, are specifically community related. So,
Mm.
home services, sure, that's giving back if you do a great job. But businesses that are children related, businesses that are related to things like special needs or adult care are really honed in on helping people. And certain folks that get into business or desire to get into business, that type of giving back is really critically important to them. And so for those types of folks, it's really nice to be able to provide a business that feeds right into that kind of help directly to the community.
You know what? I'm glad that you made that distinction because those are the cues that I would want to listen for. Like when I am speaking with potential candidates, and if these are the things that they're speaking to, then I may want to stick to those types of industries. So I'm glad that you actually pointed that out. So, why do you think that franchises are uniquely positioned to shape local communities compared to independent businesses or big corporations?
Yeah, great question. So, yeah, I mean, when you think about franchises, um, generally they are hyper local. What you have is an owner, a caring owner, working those types of businesses. That's one of the things that makes franchising great. The organizations that franchise, they could just run corporate locations if they wanted to, but the advantage of having a local owner who is part of that community makes the difference. The idea of having an owner that brings their own skills and experience and drive and is genuinely engaged in the business versus hiring a manager. And I'm not suggesting that hiring a manager or running your business virtually corporately can't be community based, but it just tends to work so much better when we have someone who lives there, who cares, who grew up in that community, who cares about their own business, who cares about their community. Those are the types of people who tend to be really motivated to be involved and to make a difference. It's just harder to do from a corporate standpoint, but when you have that hyper local owner, we tend to see businesses that really make a difference in those communities.
Yeah, yeah. So you did touch on some of the ways. Maybe you can go into that a little bit more. What are some ways franchises can generally serve a community, not just market to it?
Yeah, so if we talk about the generics, I mean, so Hudson Valley Swim, we'll talk about that a little bit and why we are so hyper community focused. But really any business you're in, find ways to give back. If you can do it in what you do, great. Like Hudson Valley Swim, what we do every day gives back. But if you can do it in what you do, that's great. But if your particular business isn't something that specifically is designed to help people, like for example, you're in a home service business that does flooring. Well, that's great. Doing a great job in flooring is a nice thing to do for the community, but take the opportunity to work with a company like or an organization that builds houses for the homeless, or get involved, donate to an organization that maybe helps veterans. Take the skills that you have out into the community. But even if it isn't specifically what you do, you can sponsor things. You can go out and find something that you're really passionate about, and use a portion of your revenues to give back. Take the facility, perhaps, that you have, if you have a facility, and use that to house a scouting program. There's just look for things in your community that you can do. Now, the beautiful part about an organization like us, like Hudson Valley Swim, you know we are a business that's very business minded. We're really about growing profitable businesses, scalable businesses. It's a nice business for folks who are getting into franchising because our overhead tends to be low. We tend to get ramped up very quickly in comparison to some organizations that have big build outs or high investments, but we never lose sight of our mission. We
Mhm.
never lose sight of our mission. And the mission here, drowning is the leading cause of unintended death for kids 1 to 4. I don't mean to go dark on us this morning, but it's also the second leading cause of death for kids 5 to 14. And if you look at the statistics, there's about 4,000 fatal drownings annually in the US. That comes to something like 11 drownings per day. It's truly an epidemic. And the solution to that epidemic is relatively simple. It's teaching people to be comfortable in the water. It's teaching people to swim. And beyond those statistics, even children, non-fatal type of drownings, there, for every one fatal drowning, there's some seven incidents that cause serious medical care. So we're talking about something that happens really often. But if you teach people to swim, it reduces that dramatically. And so this is a business that's fun. This is a business that's sunny. This is a business that's profitable, but it has a mission. And that mission is to help people, to reduce the amount of pain that a family might have, or reduce those incidents of drowning.
Mm.
So we're using this to drive life saving. Literally, I mean, part of our mission is to save lives. And that's one of the reasons we want to franchise it all the way across the country into all communities. But
Mm.
if you look at it from the owner's perspective, there's a fantastic opportunity to go and do the things you're passionate about. What are you into? Maybe your church is really important to you. Well, go and have a conversation with the youth group. Talk about water safety. Talk about how swimming is really important, what those kids can do to stay safe, even if they don't come and join us. Here's some things to do around water. Make them aware. Maybe your thing is scouts or youth sports. Maybe it's youth clubs. Maybe you just have kids in school. You can go into a school and do a 10 or 15-minute presentation, or somebody on your staff can go and do a 10 or 15-minute presentation about safety days. Just like the police or the firefighters might come in and talk about safety, the
Mhm.
discussion about water safety is critically important. So on a very practical level, we can go out and and help people, talk to people, get people involved in what we do, make them very aware of the importance of water safety and swimming skills. But it doesn't have to be that serious, right? Run a Easter comes around, you can take the parking lot of your pool and do an Easter bunny thing, or the trunk or treats that we do around Halloween are very popular events. It's just a thing to do in the community. There's one of our owners, in fact, networked with a day camp with little kids, and that day camp didn't have a pool. So what they did is they set up a situation where that day camp was busing kids in on a regular basis twice a week. I think it was about 125 kids twice a week to that owner's pool where they taught swim lessons. That's something that wouldn't have happened if we hadn't jumped in there and offered it to that camp. Now, obviously, we made money on that. Obviously, we gained a lot of customers for that, which is a nice benefit. But the idea that we just took 125 kids that wouldn't have had swim lessons and taught swim lessons is huge. We know we saved lives in just that group alone. But there's other opportunities depending on what's important to you. There are organizations, for example, a company called Hope Floats, but there are organizations who will sponsor underprivileged children who may struggle, their families may struggle to pay for the types of swim lessons. So a company or an organization like Hope Floats often will sponsor those types of children. The other way that we can really give back to the community in an organization like ours is, if you think about the statistics, we talked about some dark statistics, but if you think about special needs children, if you think about adaptive swimming, the statistics for autistic children multiplies dramatically. Autistic children tend to wander, and they're very attracted to water. So it's hypercritical that we teach children with special needs, specifically autistic children, how to be safe and how to respect the water. So we can reach out to those types of communities. We do have a really strong special needs and adaptive swim program, but those children in particular are at high risk. With that, there are certain segments of the population. Maybe we're talking about inner city or specific cultures where the swimming lessons aren't quite as much a part of growing up as they are in other communities. So reaching into those communities and being a part of those communities and offering these swim lessons, making people aware, finding ways to help people get involved can be just hugely fulfilling because we are saving lives.
This is amazing. That is amazing. So as a director of franchise development, how do you evaluate whether a prospective franchisee truly understands the responsibility of owning a business in a community and not just the opportunity?
Yeah, so I think that's really interestingly that's a two-part question. I mean, so part of my role is to help people understand the business. We're very much about mutual evaluation. While we are growing, we want to grow with the right people. We want to grow with people who are excited about what we do, and we want to grow with people that we're excited about working with. And so helping these folks understand what the business part of this is a huge piece of what I do. I like to think of myself as a tour guide, taking them through multiple meetings to really understand the business, understand how people fund a business, understand what their roles are going to be. Are they doing this semi-absentee while they keep a job? Are they planning to do this full time? What kind of skills are required? But in that process, Tamika, what I have learned is what I know about Hudson Valley Swim to be true is that the folks who make it to being a franchise, the folks who get approved, the folks who want to be approved to be a franchise owner are people who get the mission. I mean, at some point, you have to care about what we do. The idea of teaching kids, being involved with families, being involved with the community, making a difference in people's lives. If that's not an important part to our franchise owners, for the most part, they won't get through the process. And so there are a lot of businesses that you can start that are very profitable, ours included. And if you look at the background of our owners, they're hugely varied. We have guys who came from sales. We have women who came from healthcare. We have people who come from all sorts of backgrounds. So I'm less concerned about the background because We can take the transferable skills an owner has, give them our systems and track to run on, coach them, teach them, help them run a business, help them problem solve, give them all the digital systems, give them all the marketing systems to run the business. But what we can't do is make somebody care about our mission. So, if it's one of those things where it's just like, hey, I don't necessarily care what business I'm in, I just
Hmm.
I want to get into business. There's probably better choices than Hudson Valley Swim. Not from a business standpoint or a profitability standpoint, but simply because it's the folks who go, yeah, look, I love the idea of working with families and kids and making a difference and being in the community, that are really driven and motivated to make this thing go to the way that we see our best franchise owners taking it. If that made
Yeah,
sense.
absolutely. No, it makes total sense. This is something that I try to educate on a lot as well. It's about not only the fit, but again, it goes both ways. And there's a lot of profitable businesses out there. But if you're looking, for the types of businesses that's going to be a little more passion driven, there's just going to be certain businesses that that's going to fit you more, and that's what they're going to look for as well. And you're going to do much better in a business like that. And that's just what's required. And that's what's the beauty also about franchising.
Sure, right. I mean, if you want to get into drywall repair, that's great. I mean, it can be a fantastic business, but very rarely are people wake up in the morning going, "I am passionate about drywall repair," and that's fine for some people. They're passionate about the business they build, and they're passionate about their teams, and that's great. But for people who want to make a difference in the world, there are certain types of businesses. Many of them child related, as I mentioned. Many of them elder care related. But Hudson
Mhm.
Valley Swim is that type of business where people really do care about what they do. They wake up in the morning excited to go to work because they know they're doing something that serves.
Right, right. So can you share an example of how Hudson Valley Swim location made a meaningful impact locally?
Yeah, thanks, Tamika. That's a great question, and there's so many of those stories floating in my head. I could pull out probably a dozen, but one of the things that we see, and we started this corporately. So I guess the best example was starting at one of our corporate locations, although it has been spread across all of our franchise locations as well. But and I had mentioned it briefly, but the organization called Hope Floats. What they do is and there's several other type of organizations like that, but they see the value in swim lessons, and they also understand that there are certain communities that don't necessarily tend towards swim instruction, and that's often related to financial ability. But it just because this is a life saving type of organization, because that's a prime motivator for us. We partner with organizations like Hope Floats who will sponsor children to come to our swim lessons. And even for people who maybe don't necessarily go through Hope Floats, but we're always willing to work with local community folks who will talk to us and say, "Hey, look, what can we do together?" But all of our pools have the ability to work with folks who are underprivileged, and either get paid by organizations like Hope Floats and sponsors, or just to really reach into those communities and find ways to add them to the classes that we already have, that we're already running. It doesn't really take away from what we're doing. It doesn't cost us anything to add that child in, and so we'll often give that swim lesson to a child who really needs it.
That's amazing. I love that. So as we wrap up, for someone who's watching that and they're exploring franchising, of course, you guys would reach out to me, let me know. But for someone who is exploring, what questions should they ask to determine whether a brand truly aligns with their values around community and impact?
Yeah, so I mean yeah. And so here's the really neat thing about it, Tamika, is that's what you do so well, right? I mean, what you're doing is taking folks, really getting to know them, really getting to understand who they are, understand their motivators, understand what businesses might be able to fit their investment and their lifestyle goals and what they're trying to achieve. And then so much of what you do is helping them sort out, these businesses might be a good one to look at. This might be a good fit for you, and let's maybe all the other 5,000 franchises that are out there. Let's ignore those, because these really fit you. But from the client's perspective, from the people that you're working with, I think some of it is just is a little bit of daydream. What does good look like, right? If I could take the next 15 years of my career and do something that I was excited about, am I just excited to build a business? Is it really just about income and changing my life away from corporate America, or adding to my revenue and building an asset? Is that the prime motivator? Or is there something more? When you say that, yes, look, that's a prime motivator. I need to make money. I need to be in a position where I'm building an asset that I can sell someday. I need to diversify my income or change my current career path. But I want to wake up in the morning and go, this is fun. I want to wake up in the morning and go, this is making a difference. I want to wake up in the morning and go, I'm excited about talking to families. I'm excited about watching kids gain skill. I'm excited about doing something that saves lives and make a difference. And honestly, that's not everybody. It's not a judgment on anyone. It's just, just some people are really motivated that way. We see a lot of those types of folks coming out of things like healthcare, for example. Those types of folks are usually very, give back and very personal interest type of people. But people coming out of banking, they may have that motivation as well, and just never had the opportunity to really cultivate giving back, or maybe they're giving back on the side on their own time. When you look at businesses, if that's a critical piece of what you do, waking up in the morning and feeling great about what I do, knowing that I'm making a difference, then they need to talk to you about those types of businesses, Hudson Valley Swim type of businesses, where not only can you build a really scalable, large, profitable business, but one that you feel fantastic about every day.
I think that's an amazing way to end on that note. Thank you so much for joining us today. And guys, you heard it here. If this sounds like you, if this is speaking to you and this resonates with you, then maybe we should have a conversation. Make sure that you do go to precisionfranchise.com, and I'll be able to connect you with businesses such as Hudson Valley Swim. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tamika. Have a great day.
Take care.